the big part of his teachers are passive, and lesser than them normal teachers, and the smallest part of his teachers are effective teachers. Very few effective teachers, and more than them normal teachers, and the biggest part are passive teachers. But if you look at the narrations, it's the opposite. Most of the narrations comes from the effective teachers, and lesser than them, according narrations, comes from the teachers, and very few, the smallest part of the narrations comes from the passive teachers. For example, in Nafi', there was 6 effective teachers for Nafi', and I think it was about 20 normal teachers for Nafi'. No, there was only, for Nafi' there was only one effective teacher, and it is Abdullah bin Umar. I confused the matter with his students. According Abdullah bin Umar, there was only one effective teacher for Nafi', and he is Abdullah bin Umar. There was no normal teachers for Nafi', and the others, all of them was passive teachers for Nafi'. And now let's look at to the student's profile, a side view of the relationship of a narrator with his students. If you look at the book of Rijal, book of Jarh wa Ta'dil, you can find the names of the students for a narration, for a narrator. But you cannot find how many narrations did narrate every narrator, every students from him. There is no numbers there. You can find only the names. And you cannot understand which one is important, which one is the most important student, and the second and the third. For example, for Nafi', you can find in the books of Rijal about 150 or 100 and more than 160 students, and you cannot find the numbers of narrations for them from Nafi'. In this theory, we want to know the students and their numbers of narrations in order to classify them according that Rawi. Student's Rawi, student's profile, and here now average number of narrations per students. The ratio of the total number of narrations of a narrator to the total number of his students. Assume a narrator, a teacher, has 100 narrations and he has 5 students. If they narrated equally from him, they would narrate, everyone would narrate 20 hadith, right? And this is the average number of narrations per hadith. We need this average in order to classify the students. But you know that in reality this is not the case. Some students narrate more than the other, so they do not narrate equally. But according to this average, we will classify the students of a teacher. Average number of students per hadith, the ratio of the total number of narrations made by the students of a narrator to the total number of his hadith. Assume a teacher and he has 5 or he has 2 students. These 2 students narrates from that teacher 100 narration. And let's assume that half of the narrations for one student and the other half is for the other. And let's assume that these half narrations, 50-50, 50 narrations are the same between the students, are common between the students, then the total number of narrations is 100, but the number of hadith 50, because they narrate the same hadith from the teacher. One of them narrate 50 and the other 50, and these 50s are the same. So average number of students per hadith will become 100 over 50 will become 2. It means for every hadith there is 2 students. For every hadith there is 2 students. It means that our teacher here could transmit the hadith, the same hadith, over 2 students. If this average is 3, it means that he could transmit every hadith over 3 students. If this average is 4, it shows us that our teacher here could transmit his hadith over 3 or 4 students. This average is important when we look to a narrator. We understand over this average that his hadith transmitted over many students. If this average is 1, we understand that his hadith transmitted over 1 teacher. This is average only. It indicates about situation of a narrator. And now let's assume that there is 2 students and they narrate 50-50 hadith from the teacher, but these 50 hadith are different, totally different. So the total number of narrations is 100, and the total number of hadith is also 100. So 100 over 100, you will find 1 average number of students per hadith. There is 1 student per hadith in his narrations. So how the more increase the average, the more it shows us there is more students per hadith in the narration of our Rawi, our narrator, which we are examining. Now, number of effective students. The number of students who narrated mainly from a narrator. Every narrator has many students, but some of them narrates from him mainly. When you look to his students, when you look to his narrations, you will notice his special students. And you say this person and this narrator, his special students, his effective students, and the others narrates normally, and there is many students narrates a few ahadith from him. For example, when we look to students profile of Nafi' Mawla ibn Umar, I did not put all his students here. I put some of them, 10 of them here, but we know that Nafi' has more than 160 students. But the most big part of his narrations comes as over Malik bin Anas, which called Imam Malik radiallahu anh. And the second most narrating one is Ubaidullah, and the third most narrating one is Ayub, and the fourth one is Al-Lays, and the others. But here after Yahya there is still about 150 students. Most of them narrates only 1 hadith from Nafi' Mawla ibn Umar. The biggest part comes from Malik, second Ubaidullah, and third Ayub. So you can consider that Malik, Ubaidullah, and Ayub is effective students of Nafi', and you can say Al-Lays, Musa, Abdullah, Juwayriya are normal students of Nafi', and the rest are passive students of Nafi' Mawla ibn Umar. It depends how you distinguish between them, but you can understand that there is a difference between them. We want to determine this difference. We want to name this difference. So in my book Nafi' Mawla ibn Umar, I have a suggestion to how calculate the main, the effective students of a narrator. And now, number of normal students, the number of students who have narrated above the average from a narrator. This average, the average number of students per hadith, the average number of let's look at it. Average number of narrations per student. Depending on this average, if a student narrates from a teacher above the average, then we name him normal students. And if he narrates from him below the average, then we name him passive students. And the same things happen when you look a narrator, when you look to students of a narrator, you can see that there is the biggest amount of the students are passive, and the normal students lesser than them, and a few students are effective. For example, for Nafi', according to my calculations, there was 6 effective students and about 11 normal students, and the rest were passive students. They are more than 130 students, and most of them have only single hadith from Nafi' Mawla ibn Umar. This was the presentation 3 about new definitions of narrator characteristics. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا واخطأنا، ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا، ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به، واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا، أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.